Friends, technology is moving so fast right now, it is hard to keep up with it. And I am often asked, where does tech, AI in particular, fit into all things planning? So today, I thought I'd kind of give you a state of the union of what I'm seeing out there in regards to AI tools and how it may support overwhelmed women in planning. All right, friends, welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. Well, chances are your email inbox or social media or whatever is likely full of a lot of the same messages that I'm seeing right now from tech companies, especially software and tech centered around AI, that are leaning hard into productivity messaging. Right? Every single day, there's something new out there that's promising you to save you time, eliminate decision fatigue, reduce your workload, do things quicker, right? And the underlying message out there is that if you're not using specifically AI, you're falling behind and you're doing it wrong. And I recently got sucked into someone having me test out another AI planning tool because they were convinced that this would be able to replicate the way I teach planning. Now, there's a fundamental problem with a lot of the messaging out there. Number one, it assumes that all time savings are created equal, which they're not. And it ignores the fact that certain tools serve very specific purposes, right? One tool is not going to be the answer for everything. And the real messaging is just giving so much fear, right? You better do this, you're going to be left behind. Now, I am someone who loves tech. I invest time every month in testing tech. I try and get out there and play with any tools that are advertising, helping with productivity and planning. I teach productivity and planning, and I love a good tool. But I'm here to tell you this. Guys, I'm out there playing with it all. I have yet to find an AI tool that can create a realistic plan the way that I teach planning. And I've tried a lot of them. So I want to share some of the things that I want you guys to be thinking about in case you're getting sucked into playing with new tools, apps, etc. here today, because there are some wins out there. So I want to help you understand where I see this fitting into everyday life and where you may want to be a little cautious as you decide whether or not you want to embark your time investing on a new tech tool to support you in productivity and planning. Now, before we dive in here, again, I want to make this very clear. This is not an anti-AI or anti-tech podcast by any stretch. I am not anti-tech and I am not anti-AI. There are places where I lean heavily on technology, software, apps, and AI 100% for sure. It has been a game changer for me personally and professionally in business. So first, let's start off with where I see some real wins, all right? Again, these are ones that I'm experiencing myself. So where I have been really embracing the use of AI, specifically large language models, things like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc., in my personal life, is around what I consider a lot of my COO tasks around the house. Meal planning, travel planning are my top two. I am now, between my husband and I, we are knocking out meal planning and a grocery list for our kind of Sunday planning in a matter of literal seconds now, instead of the 15 to 20 minutes that we used to spend together every week. So this is where we collectively are loving AI. Same is true with travel planning. If you are someone that plays around with building your own custom GPTs or projects or gems, being able to load in all the information about your family to store that or for traveling needs is making travel planning and travel prep such a lighter lift when it used to be a lot of work for me. So those are just two immediate wins where I am all in and embracing how AI can support my family and reduce decision fatigue and save a lot of time. Now, in business here at the Pink Bee, we leverage it a lot as well for content repurposing, right? I can load in the transcript from this very podcast and have it pull out for us. Hey, here's a great sentence or a great quote that you may want to use on a social media post, right? That takes way less time than reading through the entire transcript manually and trying to pull those things out, which is what we used to do. It's wonderful for research, right? Information gathering, brainstorming. So we are leaning heavily on AI and software tools for that. So as you start exploring it on your own, you'll likely start uncovering some patterns, right? Tech and AI can be excellent at streamline or automating repetitive tasks that don't require like nuanced intellectual power. Like me training my chat GPT on the core meals that we like to eat and taking a picture of the food that's in our house and then having it spit out a meal plan for the week. That's a perfect win, right? Gets rid of so much decision fatigue. It's a very mundane, repetitive task. Again, there's a lot of use and benefit patterns in first brainstorming, right? Oh, I'm really struggling. I'm feeling stuck here. Help me get unstuck. It also can be wonderful at organizing information that you already have or speeding up tasks that you already know how to do. And this is why I like to consider it as almost like my own executive assistant, both personally and professionally. Now, let's dive in specifically on what I've been seeing lately with regards to time management and planning. There are a ton of tools and apps out there. Now, as always, I'm going to start this off. If you found something that you're using to have it create your detailed weekly plan and it is working for you, fantastic. I salute you. And if it's working, keep doing it. But with all of the tools that I have played with, and believe me, I have given them a hard test, and I'm pretty good at technology. Now, my teenage daughter might say otherwise, but I still like to think that I can hold my own. I have yet to successfully or easily, and we're talking about the differences here, have an AI tool create a plan for my week that is at all realistic. Okay, now I went into this endeavor really wanting to make it work. All right. And I want to tell you some of the patterns that I noticed. So, first, let's tackle just it not being able to create a plan that was going to be realistic. All right. It will by default, let me give you kind of a backstory on the types of tools that I've been playing with. They're ones that you do connect into your like Google Calendar, iCal, so it can read what's already on there. And then you're feeding in, here's my task list, right? And then it's going to create the plan for you. Now, what it's ultimately going to end up doing is filling every single bit of white space in core working hours by default. That's what most of them are designed to do. So if it sees available time, it puts you right into motion. All right. So it's going to get you overbooked and overcommitted. Now, there were some tools that I played with that allowed me to feed in a ton of information where basically I was trying to tell it the nuances of my life being the default parent, primary caregiver, business owner. a- I really don't have set patterns with my days or weeks. I juggle a lot of uncertainty. And I found a tool that I went in really thinking, okay, I'm going to be able to make this thing work. I'm going to be able to replicate what I do inside of the top program and how I teach weekly planning. So I went in thinking that I was going to make this thing work. But even after, and guys, I spent 2.5 hours over the course of a couple days training it on the nuances of my life, or at least trying to train it on the nuances of my life. And at the end of the day, it continually created plans that I know will not work. All right. It cannot take into consideration the fluctuations and nuances that women experience around hormones, right? It doesn't replan well. You have a day where you wake up and you've had a rough night. Maybe you've been up all night with a kid. Maybe you've been up all night yourself with hot flashes. And what you have scheduled or planned to work on first thing in the morning, your brain is telling you nope. And then you try and go in to have it create a new plan for you. It kind of falls apart. I haven't noticed where the estimates have really been very good. In order to get the good plan, you yourself have to be really, really good at estimating. And none of the AI tools out there are even aware, in my opinion, of what a lot of women refer to as the invisible load, the mental load, right? So if it sees, hey, Megan, you're available from 4:30 to 6, Even if I try and tell it, "Hey, I don't want you to block my calendar because I am home, right? But I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of house stuff." There was just too much massaging in order to get this to work. AI is trained the way most AI tools, they are trained on what is typical or average. And if you are a default parent, you are not typical or average. We are extraordinary with everything that we are juggling and all the different ways that we need to navigate that. The mental load you carry is not average. All right. If you are juggling working and caregiving, definitely not average as well. Now, I had an interesting conversation with some male counterparts of mine that really lean into productivity, and they are loving the AI planning tools. So, as we dug into it, here's what we uncovered. They work well for them because they basically operate inside of what I call the perfect week model, which is what a lot of productivity experts will train you to do, which is this. You need to create structure in your week or that's repetitive week after week, meaning, okay, Mondays are days that I do these 10 things always. Then Tuesday is meeting days. I only allow for meetings on Tuesdays. Then Wednesday mornings is when I'm available for this type of work, and in the afternoon I'm available for this type of work. So they coach you into creating what they call a perfect week, so something that you can rinse and repeat week after week that creates routines and predictability and structure. And if you are able to do that, then leveraging an AI tool to like fill in the details of your plan can actually work because it's something that's average, it's typical, it's repeatable, right? There's patterns there. So, my counterparts that have found the tools to be useful have a ton of predictability and patterns in their lives. So, again, if you do, you may find those work really, really well. I do not have that. And most women in my season of life, or if you're home full time with kids, or if you're juggling work and kids, or maybe you're caring for elderly parents, we we may not know what, not only what tomorrow may bring, we may not even be sure what 3 hours from now may bring. And it's not because we're not good at planning, it's because we have to support unpredictability. And this is where the AI planning tools just aren't there today. Now, will they be later? Who knows? I firmly believe someone out there is going to crack that. So if you've been playing around with them and you've been trying to implement the plans that they're creating for you and they aren't working, that's probably why. So before we wrap up kind of my little AI state of the union around AI and planning today, I do want to give you some tips on things that I want you to consider if you're evaluating bringing in new software tools or technology to help you be more productive, right? So I'm talking specifically around productivity or planning turns. Number one, do you have something that is really repetitive and very rules based, meaning it's the same, I do these same four things always, all the time? If the answer is yes, this is a great candidate for leveraging a tool or AI to streamline something and help you do it more efficiently, for sure. Now, if you are looking for a tool to help you basically skip learning a fundamental skill that you may need, the tool may not help you. So, for example, I'm sure you can all relate to getting emails in your inbox that the minute you get it, you're like, I know a robot wrote that. There's no way a human did, right? So maybe, and this is a great example, it could be that the person that's using the tool didn't really have fundamental copywriting or writing skills to begin with. So they were just trusting that whatever AI wrote was going to sound good and send it out the door, right? So that's where it may not be such a great idea. Now, another thing to consider is the tool going to add to your cognitive load or is it going to reduce it? So think about it like this. If this is something else where now you have to have one more thing you need to do, one more thing you need to go check, if it's taking more steps to do it than if you just did it yourself manually, it's not helpful. Like for me right now, to try and work with an AI planning tool and massage it for 3.5 hours to get it to create a weekly plan I feel good about, there's no way I'm going to do that. That is adding to my cognitive load. I can knock out my detailed weekly plan in about 15 minutes, 20 on a hard week. So I'm not going to switch that, right? Another thing I want you to consider is this. Can you articulate what problem this tool is solving? Using a tool for tool's sake because everyone else is using it, don't bother, right? I never want to bring a new tool in unless I'm thinking about a specific problem I'm looking for it to solve. And then finally, does this tool assume that I have more predictability, more time, more energy than I actually do? All right. Most productivity tech out there is designed, again, by people and for people that aren't carrying the mental load. It's designed by and built for people that have a ton of repetitive predictability in their lives. If the tool requires kind of ideal conditions, if you will, it's probably not going to be the right tool for you if you're not living in that kind of a way. So, kind of the golden rule that I want you to think about is this: tech should support you. It should support your systems, but it doesn't need to replace you or become the system. If you don't have the underlying framework in place for how you plan, organize, and prioritize, if you don't know how to do that yourself, the apps right now are not going to save you. They can't solve that problem for you alone, right? You're going to need to be involved in that. So here's the good news. You don't need to be a tech expert. You don't need to go grab 47 new productivity apps or pieces of software or all of that. All right. In fact, chances are you'll probably be better off with less. My tech stack is really, really lean and mean. And the women that I work with that are most in control of their time, they're not the ones with the most advanced tech stacks. All right. Again, a lot of super productive people still do their planning in a paper planner. I'm not saying you can't be productive if you're not using paper. We talked about that on a previous episode. So I want you to understand the goal, and your goal should not be to be all tech or anti-tech, right? It's not pro-tech or anti-tech. What we want to be here is pro-you, pro your realities, pro your life. And if there's a right fit, it might mean saying yes to a specific tool or technology. If it's not, then you get to say no to the shiny new thing that maybe other people are having success with. There is no one size fits all. Now, if you have found a tool that you are loving, something that's helping you with your productivity or organization, and you want me to check it out, by all means, please send it on over. Come find me on Instagram at Megan Sumrell. Shoot me a DM. I always love checking out what's out there. And if it's a great fit, that I'm going to get excited about, I'm always going to come here and share it with you all. So if you're feeling like you're being left behind, don't, right? You get to decide what's going to work for you, and you get to move at your own pace. You're not being left behind. All right, friends, have a great week, and I'll see you back here next week.